Most of us grow up trusting the food on our shelves. If it's sitting next to the cereal and the juice boxes, it can't be that bad, right? Well, Europe disagrees, quite strongly in some cases. Across the Atlantic, food regulators have been quietly banning some of America's most beloved products for years, and the reasons range from unsettling to genuinely alarming. Here are 10 American foods that are banned in Europe. Skittles have been a US staple since the 80s, and for most people, the biggest concern was which color is the best. Turns out the actual problem was hiding in plain sight the whole time. For years, American Skittles contained titanium dioxide, a white additive that made the colors look brighter and more vivid. The European Union banned it in 2022 after research linked it to DNA damage and potential cancer risk. The science was alarming enough that the EU didn't want to wait around. Mars, the company behind Skittles, eventually removed it from the US recipe too, but only at the end of 2024, a full 2 years after Europe drew the line. Gatorade seems like the last drink you'd expect to find on a banned list. It's marketed as a health product, essentially, but the version sold in America contains brominated vegetable oil, or BVO, a chemical used to keep the flavoring from separating and floating to the surface. The EU banned BVO back in 2008, largely because bromine, its core ingredient, is considered a toxic chemical linked to thyroid problems, organ damage, and in extreme cases, birth defects. On top of that, several Gatorade flavors contain Yellow 5 and Yellow 6, dyes that are outright banned in Norway and Austria. Gatorade quietly reformulated in some markets, but the original American recipe remains a no-go across much of Europe. American chicken might be the most internationally controversial item on this list. Since 1997, the EU has refused to import U.S. poultry, and the reason comes down to how the birds are processed after slaughter. American producers wash chicken carcasses in chlorinated water to kill bacteria like salmonella. On paper, that sounds reasonable. The problem, according to European regulators, is that it's a shortcut. Rather than ensuring farms maintain high hygiene standards from the start, the chlorine rinse is applied at the end to compensate for poor conditions throughout the supply chain. The EU's position is that no chemical wash fixes what bad farming creates in the first place. Long-term chlorine ingestion has also been linked to lung issues and cellular damage, which didn't help the case for American poultry. American bread is something Europeans find quietly baffling. It's soft, it's pillowy, it stays fresh for what feels like weeks, and part of the reason for all of that is an additive called potassium bromate. It strengthens dough, adds elasticity, and helps loaves rise higher and stay fluffier. It's also been classified as a possible carcinogen. The EU banned it years ago, and it's also prohibited in the UK, Canada, China, Brazil, and several other countries. The FDA hasn't gone that far, choosing instead to set limits on how much can be used. California did ban it in 2023, but the rest of America is still eating bread made with an additive that most of the developed world decided wasn't worth the risk. Jolly Ranchers are one of those candies that feel almost indestructible, which is fitting because the ingredient causing concern here is used partly to prevent the sweets from sticking together. The UK's Food Standards Agency issued a warning about certain Jolly Rancher products containing something called MOAH, mineral oil aromatic hydrocarbons, which are used in confectionery to create that glossy finish. The FSA described MOAH as a genotoxic carcinogen, meaning it has the potential to damage DNA and increase cancer risk with prolonged exposure. Hershey had been working with UK authorities to pull the affected products since 2024, but some retailers kept importing them anyway. Twinkies are practically a symbol of American processed food, and the cream filling at the center of one is a long way from anything you'd find in a kitchen. One of the key ingredients giving that filling its bright, white, glossy appearance is titanium dioxide, the same additive that got Skittles pulled from European shelves. The EU banned it in 2022 after studies raised concerns about intestinal damage and DNA disruption. Even the White House's own Make America Healthy Again report in 2025 flagged titanium dioxide as a risk, noting it may cause cellular and DNA damage. Despite all of this, Twinkies still list it as an active ingredient on their packaging today. American beef has been banned in Europe since 1989, which makes it one of the longest-standing food disputes between the two regions. The issue is growth hormones. U.S. cattle farmers routinely inject their livestock with hormones, like estradiol, to make the animals grow faster and produce more meat. In 1999, a European scientific committee concluded that estradiol was a complete carcinogen, meaning it can both initiate and promote tumor growth. The data didn't allow regulators to put an exact number on the risk to consumers, but that uncertainty was precisely the problem. Europe decided that if you can't prove something is safe, you don't feed it to people. Non-dairy coffee creamer has been a fixture in American offices and diners for decades, and it makes sense why. It's cheap, it doesn't need refrigerating, and it comes in flavors like hazelnut and pumpkin spice. What it also comes with is partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, one of the last remaining sources of artificial trans fats on the American market. Trans fats raise bad cholesterol, lower good cholesterol, and significantly increase the risk of heart disease. Europe has either banned or strictly regulated them, which is why the worst American creamers simply don't make it onto European shelves. Some versions also contain carrageenan, a seaweed-derived thickener linked to inflammation and possibly cancer, which hasn't exactly helped their case abroad. Kraft Mac and Cheese is one of the most recognizable boxes in any American supermarket, and for years it owed its vivid orange color to yellow dyes number 5 and 6. Both dyes have been linked to hyperactivity in children, and yellow 6 was flagged by European food authorities as a potential risk to testicular health. Yellow 5 has been associated with mutations in white blood cells over time, raising longer-term cancer concerns. As we have already mentioned, Norway and Austria outright banned both dyes. Across the wider EU, any food containing them had to carry a warning label stating they may negatively affect children's attention spans. Kraft eventually reformulated for European markets, replacing the dyes with paprika and turmeric, and eventually made the same change in the US too, though it took years of pressure to get there. Mountain Dew ends the list the way it probably ends most nights for its most devoted fans, with something that probably shouldn't exist but absolutely does. The drink's neon glow comes largely from tartrazine, known in America as Yellow 5, the same dye that's caused problems across this entire list. Beyond the color, the American version of Mountain Dew historically contained brominated vegetable oil, the same chemical flagged in Gatorade and banned across the EU since 2008. Europeans can technically buy something called Mountain Dew, but the recipe is a much tamer version, closer to the original Tennessee mixer it started out as in the 1940s, before it became the caffeinated, dye-soaked phenomenon it is today. The original tagline was, "It'll tickle your innards." After everything on this list, that feels like less of a promise and more of a warning.